Hi, welcome back to my garden. I've been speaking about producing a personal vision board, a sort of physical representation of what self-actualization might actually mean for you as an individual in the future, what it will look like. And of course, I haven't suddenly discovered a well-hidden, esoteric, alternative persona. I'm not regularly taking little trips to the shop that peddles crystals and replica Egyptian pyramids or numerological charts. And I don't believe that if you write yourself a check for $10 million, date it 5 years into the future, that lo and behold, when that day rolls on, that you will miraculously receive a job offer or win the lottery. Some people claim, and in fact I think they claim this because he said so, that this is what Jim Carrey did, and it worked out for Jim Carrey, so it'll work out for me. No, I don't really believe that that's how a visualization works. I do believe that in starting to envision how things might be and reinforcing that might be an important first stage in taking on board changes in your life. But I've got a confession to make. Last week, my explanation/excuse was an outrageous cold. Well, I more or less recovered from that. And still the vision board is conceptually in your mind, but not in very neat, snipped up bits of magazines on a large sheet of paper that I'm looking at intently day in, day out. It hasn't left that sort of conceptual stage. And I'm having difficulties. I think it's surprising, actually. This is a difficult thing to do. Difficult on the very simplest level, because we're in that difficult territory, that challenging territory, Delphic oracle, know thyself. And I think, I'm not lacking in confidence, and I'm not afraid to speak about things that I dream about, that I want for the future, discussing how my own personal life will develop over the last few years on this channel. I've made more than enough videos, which I think provide evidence that no, I'm not shy and sort of holding myself back with a narrow personal vision. And yet, I think this is the tricky part, perhaps I am. Perhaps that is really part of the problem with doing these sort of exercises. I mean, there's a difficulty in going out and saying, tonight I am going to run 9.83 for the 100 meters at the New York Grand Prix meeting and break a 30-year British sprint record. Now, that's hard to do because it is setting yourself up for an enormous embarrassment should things not work out. And I'm glad to say our intrepid hero from a previous video didn't do that. He wrote it in a training diary. But he wrote it and visualized it and believed it and did it. But I think just writing something down becomes difficult because for many reasons we create, is the term glass ceilings for ourselves? We create these sort of imaginary barriers to keep ourselves between where we are and places we could imagine ourselves being. And we do imagine ourselves being on those sort of slightly out of body, lazy long bus rides or plane trips when we drift into delusional reverie and we imagine all sorts of incredible things happening to us. but we don't really believe it. We imagine it, and if we sort of quizzed ourselves, we can see rationally how it is possible. Like I could see rationally how I could have run these fast times as a junior sprinter, but I didn't really believe it. And writing it down, it becomes this first stage in coming to terms with and accepting our dreams and ambitions. Now, the example I've just used, the sort of these kind of ambitions, these targets or accomplishments that we're afraid of because they are big and intimidating and hard to achieve. We resist that because of, I suppose, accepting the possibility that we might actually be full of exceptional potential that we don't want to take on board. We don't want to accept the responsibility for realizing. It's not the only reason we push those dreams far away at sort of far more than arm's length from ourselves. I mean, another reason, or another way we do it, is we tell ourselves interesting stories. You know, well, I could do that, but I'm not that sort of person, because actually that sort of person is ambitious and egotistical. That sort of person is arrogant. That sort of person is focused on their own goals to an extent that they deny all sorts of other responsibilities. There are many stories that we tell ourselves. And obviously the most effective stories are the ones we really don't actually realize are stories. I mean, the ideas about the talent myth, I kind of can see how those are stories, because I really don't believe it. And the example I'm going to use, at no point am I going to say, I don't believe I have the innate ability to do this, that, or the next thing. I do believe certain things, but I suspect I'm telling myself other stories. Is it Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, and also the man who taught himself life drawing by drawing strippers and pole dancers in racy clubs in California? Wonderful chap, Richard Feynman. Apparently one of the things that he would tell his students is something along the lines of, be careful about fooling yourself, because the easiest person to fool is yourself. Something like that. But the truth of the matter is that the most convincing narrative lies that we have taken on board to protect ourselves from those extraordinary ambitions, we don't realize that they are lies because they are so well told. They are so convincing. I mean, sometimes convincing because we place our faith in external authorities, but very often convincing because we tell it to ourselves in such an effective sort of way, and we cherry pick feedback in a way that confirms this sort of deception. Let me try and give a concrete example. Let us imagine that one of the things that I want to include within my future vision of myself is not just writing a book, which I've spoken about, but dreams or aspirations for this YouTube channel. And I'm very happy, actually, with how things are progressing. And I have spoken about how, of course, it's nice to suddenly discover that my Zettelkasten episode 104 or whatever it was has been viewed 10,000 times, or however many it is, but it's something like that. Of course, that's very satisfying, and it's a nice little fluffy ego pick-me-up. But I will say that, but I don't want to become some kind of over-ambitious, success-driven, money-orientated YouTube influencer, fake guru kind of presenter. That's not what my content's all about. I believe in the egalitarian democratic nature of YouTube, that it is a platform that is free for all, effectively, that is open to all. And I don't want to be held to ransom by polished and generic production values and filmic quality, and I don't want to hold you to ransom to some kind of scammy scheme, whether it's through a membership Patreon subscription or some kind of clever course that I'm selling. I don't want to mislead you and take advantage of your gullibility or desire for self-improvement and suddenly, sneakily make an income at your expense via my videos. And I don't. But here's the interesting thing. How much of that is true, what I have just said, that little mini rant? I think it's all kind of true. It's all very plausible, and I do believe pretty much in everything that I've said. And I don't want to be, as much as I don't personally loathe and detest Ali Abdaal or Mark Manson, but I don't want to be them. I want to be someone else. But that doesn't mean that that whole narrative isn't a way of kind of cutting me off from taking the challenging, difficult steps necessary to have a more effective and a greater reach in my YouTube channel. And that actually it is possible to maintain my kind of very spontaneous, low production value type of chat and share with you something interesting and reach a far bigger audience. And if what I want is for that to be free, it's possible to reach a far bigger audience without charging people any money at all. And there are people out there doing that. And I'm not reaching a far bigger audience. Perhaps I'm not doing certain things because I am afraid of kind of putting my chips on that little square on the roulette table and backing that horse. And then doing the difficult things that I'm kind of probably afraid of doing, or that I don't know how to do, and then I know there will be frustration and many obstacles in the way. So perhaps I need to think about that carefully and write something suitably ambitious. And this idea of vision boards and the idea of being ambitious is not holding yourself ransom to something, but it is putting something out there for you to look at, grow comfortable with, and eventually take on board and truly believe that you can do this thing. So that's it for this week. Let me know what you think. Don't be afraid to call me out. Take me to task, or tell me some hard truths. I'm all ears. Otherwise, I trust your lives are filled with joy, Until next week, from a sunny Brazil,